Hello there, I'm Azaria Tagaya and you're watching Nightline. Here are the top stories. Government will not tolerate those who challenge laws and institutions. And MACC obtains documents to facilitate probe into wrongdoing claims against FAM. Good morning. The government will not tolerate those who challenge the country's laws and institutions. Referring to the issue of the controversial socks found in KK Supermart bearing the word Allah, Prime Minister Sano Ibrahim said the law applies equally to everyone when it comes to race, religion and royalty or 3R issues, adding that action must be taken on those who threaten the peace regardless of who the person is or which party they belong to.
Siasat, tangkap, dakwa. Kita jalan terus. Jangan kita guna isu ini atau isu lain-lain untuk menghasut. Itu dia yang penting. Sama ada orang Islam atau bukan Islam. Jadi saya telah tegaskan dan saya perlu tekankan, kita tidak akan tolak ansur. Tidak peduli siapa, kedudukan dia, parti mana, jangan diugut sekiranya diambil tindakan. Apalagi kalau menyentuh 3R.
Anwar was responding to queries earlier in the day about UMNO Youth Chief Dr. Muhammad Akmal Saleh being called in to record his statement by police in Kota Kinabalu. Anwar said the government fully supports the decree of the Yang di-Pertuan Agong prohibiting against the use of religious issues to incite the public. Since March 26th, there have been 3 petrol bomb attacks on KK Supermart stores in the wake of the controversial socks issue. Swift police action has seen 7 people being hauled to court on charges of deliberately intending to hurt the religious feelings in the country. On April 3rd, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong Sultan Ibrahim granted an audience to Datuk Sri Chai Ki Khan, the founder and executive chairman of the KK Mart Group, where Chai sought for forgiveness from His Majesty as well as from the entire Muslim community. Meanwhile, police have confirmed that 2 police reports were lodged in connection with UMNO Youth Chief Dr. Muhammad Akmal Saleh's speech on the controversial socks found in KK Supermart. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Razaruddin Hussein said the case has been classified under Section 4, Subsection 1 of the Sedition Act and Section 233 of the Communications and Multimedia Act. In a statement, the IGP said the investigation paper will be referred to the Attorney General's chambers once it is completed. He also advised the public not to raise issues related to the controversial socks, as those involved have already been prosecuted. Earlier, Dr. Akmal arrived at the Kota Kinabalu International Airport at about 10:30 a.m. His visit to Sabah was originally planned for an afternoon program in Beaufort. But upon arrival, he was promptly taken to the Kota Kinabalu Police Headquarters to provide his statement. He was summoned in relation to a police report filed against him under the Sedition Act. The UMNO Youth Chief concluded giving his statement after a session lasting over 2 hours.
Laporan polis itu berkenaan dengan apa, Tuan?
Mengenai satu ceramah saya di Kelantan.
Di Kelantan. Laporan itu di sini kan?
Tak, laporan itu di Kuala Lumpur.
The poison pen letter alleging wrongdoings within the Football Association of Malaysia FAM is being investigated by the Malaysian AntiCorruption Commission MACC. The probe, initiated 2 days ago, also saw the anti-graft body obtaining several documents from the FAM headquarters in Kelana Jaya to facilitate investigations into the claims. MACC Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki said the investigation was based on public complaints and will not be focused on the administrative matters raised in the poison pen letter. Instead, the graft busters will be looking solely on the alleged criminal issues, including bribery, fraud and mishandling of funds within the national football body. So far, the MACC has not disclosed any details, despite confirming that several files related to the allegations have been taken for investigation. The MACC also urged the public not to make any speculation regarding the matter and to allow for a fair and professional investigation to take place. On Sunday, a poison pen letter went viral on social media accusing FAM of fraud, abuse of power, mismanaging funds, discrepancies in salaries and benefits, as well as issues with the Harimau Malaya squad and the National Training Centre project. FAM President Datuk Hamidin Muhammad Amin, however, dismissed the letter as defamatory and claimed that the allegations were deliberately fabricated to tarnish the reputation of certain individuals. Datuk Sano Ibrahim has hinted at a salary increase for civil servants with an announcement expected before the end of this year. The Prime Minister said that the raise is justified due to the long overdue review of the civil service salary structure.
Kita tahu duit tak ada. Tapi, yalah, negara ni wang tak ada bukan salah orang kampung. Bukan salah pekerja. Salahnya salah pengurusan kerajaan, pimpinan. Terutama yang sakau. Saya tak boleh oleh kerana salah dia, sementara nak betulkan salah mereka, kita bebankan orang bawah. Maka saya kata macam mana pun, kita kena cari jalan, naikkan gaji penjawat awam sebelum akhir tahun ini.
Anwar, who's also the finance minister, said the news will be announced in the next few months or during the tabling of the 2025 budget at the latest. He said this in his speech during the Madani Breaking a Fast event at the University Technology Mara campus in Pematang Pauh, Pulau Pinang on Friday. During the event, Anwar also contributed cash and food kits to the underprivileged and students. In the 2024 budget speech last year, Anwar announced that the new civil service remuneration scheme would be fully implemented from 2025. Police have arrested 12 more people in connection with the Israeli man caught with 6 guns and 200 bullets at a hotel in Jalan Ampang, Kuala Lumpur last month. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Razaruddin Hussein said this brings the total number of arrests to 16. Razaruddin said all the suspects were detained in raids at several premises in Johor and Kuala Lumpur by a special task force involving the Criminal Investigation Department CID from Bukit Aman and Kuala Lumpur Police Contingent, as well as the Special Branch. After the arrest of the Israeli and 3 local suspects, the police detained another 4 men and 2 women, aged between 25 and 41. Further investigations led to 6 more individuals being detained, including 2 Turkish men, aged 29 and 40, a 39-year-old Georgian man and 3 Malaysians aged between 32 and 60. Some of the arrests were made following investigations conducted by the Commercial Crime Investigation Department, which managed to trace the cryptocurrency payment transactions for the firearms purchased by the Israeli man. It was reported previously that police arrested a married couple from Kuala Selangor for allegedly supplying firearms to the Israeli and a man in Cameron Highlands for allegedly being the driver for the Israeli since his arrival on March 12th. The Israeli suspect, who entered the country using a French passport, claimed he flew to Malaysia from the United Arab Emirates to murder another Israeli over a family dispute. However, police are still investigating the real reason why the suspect came to the country, including the possibility that he is a spy. Nearly 40 million ringgit worth of electrical cable rolls were destroyed in a fire at the Sabah Electricity Sendirian Berhad SESB main store in Menggataw. The incident, which occurred on Thursday, involved underground cables, with the cause still fully to be determined. SESB Chairman Datuk Sri Wilfred Madias Tangau said the fire wiped out most of the reel cables stored at the facility, which will have to be replaced. According to him, the cables were to be installed throughout the state, mostly to connect supply to consumers' homes. In the fire, which began around noon on Thursday, over 60 firefighters from the Kota Kinabalu, Jalan Lintas and Penampang stations managed to bring the blaze under control by 5 p.m. But it could not be fully extinguished due to a water shortage. It was reported that the fire hydrant at the site ran dry, forcing the firemen to use water from a nearby drain, which also ran out within about 40 minutes. The firefighters then had to get water from Sungai Menggataw, located about 1.2 kilometers from the scene. Madias described the incident as unfortunate owing to its impact on the state's electrical infrastructure. 4 Indonesian ministers testify in GE dispute trial. News from the Foreign Front when we return.
Pink macam Mami dia juga. Dia kalau bawa beli baju ni, samalah. Tak apa, kuning ke hijau? Hijau. Hari ini anda bersama Mira dalam rancangan Masak Sendiri Dekat Rumah. Jangan lupa saksikan saya Amira Rosli bersama keluarga dalam Oh Mami hanya di TV3.
Nak berbuka kat mana hari ni Hai, Assalamualaikum. Kita kembali lagi dalam jalan-jalan cari makan Ramadan. Anda tak payah nak pening-pening kepala, nak kena cari mana pot best nak berbuka puasa. Anda tinggal listkan dan pergi sahaja lokasi-lokasi yang Nadia dah pergi. Pelbagai makanan ataupun menu di bulan Ramadan ini. Jangan lupa saksikan jalan-jalan cari makan Ramadan setiap Ahad 11.30 pagi hanya di TV3 dan stream juga melalui Tonton.
Kanda-kanda, Ramadan tahun ni lagi drama daripada biasa. Marilah teman Adinda jam 10 malam di TV3. Daddy Duda, 17 Mac. Pelangi yang hilang, 24 Mac. Ramadan, I Miss You, 31 Mac. Lukisan Hati Umar, 7 April. Ramadan Raya macam dolu-dolu di Cerita Ahad TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Gaza's health ministry on Friday said at least 54 Palestinians were killed over the past 24 hours, bringing the death toll to at least 33,091 people. These statistics come as CIA Director William J. Burns is expected to travel to Cairo on Saturday for further talks on releasing Israeli hostages being held in Gaza. American officials believe negotiating a pause in fighting between Israel and Hamas and the exchange of Israeli hostages held in Gaza for Palestinian hostages held in Israel is the only way to put a temporary ceasefire into effect and increase the flow of humanitarian aid into the enclave. Meanwhile, Israel on Friday has agreed to open another crossing and increase the flow of aid getting into Gaza, a move seemingly aimed at tempering the US President Joe Biden's growing frustration over the dire humanitarian crisis in the enclave. During a tense 30-minute call with Netanyahu, Biden leveraged US aid to influence the conduct of war against Hamas that has inflamed many Americans and others around the world. Meanwhile, speaking alongside EU leaders in Belgium on Friday, US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said Israel needs to make sure the population is protected from its strikes by maximizing every effort to protect civilians. Blinken told journalists that the US will be closely looking at specific metrics, such as the number of trucks making their way into the Gaza Strip and the evolution of famine risks. Following a tense phone call between Biden and Netanyahu on Thursday, the White House had said that the US president called for an immediate ceasefire and signalled he is prepared to make changes to Washington's ironclad political and military support for Israel if aid is not increased.
What we're looking to see in the days and weeks ahead is prioritization, surging humanitarian assistance, sustaining it, getting it to people who need it, making sure that those who are providing it are safe and secure, and maximizing every effort to protect civilians, those who are caught in this crossfire Hamas is making. We just can't have so many people caught in that crossfire, killed, injured, going forward.
In the meantime, the Malaysian government stressed that it will expedite humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza through the Rafah border. Prime Minister Datuk Sano Ibrahim said the aid was already on standby there through assistance rendered by the Egyptian government.
Kita standby dari sana lah.
Di mana?
Di sepadan Rafah. Okay. Memang ada. Israel soal bagi perang itu memang tanggungjawab dia. Dia dah khianat sekian lama. Orang dah hampir kebuluran, boleh nak cakap nak cari semata. Itu tekanan kita terus. Alright?
Kita ada jumlah bantuan yang dah tersedia tu Datuk Seri. Berapa nilai dia?
Saya tak ingat sekarang, tapi memang dah 3-4 kali dah. 2 kali saya minta Presiden Fattah Sisi dan kedua minggu yang lalu pun dia bantu percepatkan. Dan kali ketiga dah sampai, tapi sekarang ni yang standby masih ada.
Anwar was speaking to reporters after performing Friday prayers with more than 2,000 congregants at the Sungai Ara Al-Huda Mosque in Bayan Lepas, Pulau Pinang. The Prime Minister was responding to an announcement from the office of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stating that Israel will allow the delivery of quote-unquote temporary aid through its border with the northern part of the Gaza Strip. This would see the reopening of the Erez crossing into the famine-threatened territory for the first time since the October 7th attacks that sparked the war in Gaza. The announcement comes as international pressure mounts on Israel after it took responsibility for a strike that killed 7 aid workers. Turkish authorities on Friday arrested 2 people suspected of spying for Israeli intelligence. In a post on social media platform X, Interior Minister Ali Yalakaya said police had detained 8 people believed to be collecting and selling information to Mossad about targeting individuals and companies in Turkey. Of those, he said 2 had been arrested and 6 released on parole. Officials said the raids carried out in Istanbul targeted a Turkish private detective and his wife, who were believed to have been involved with Mossad from 2011 to 2020. It added that the detective had previously met Mossad members in Austria, Switzerland and Germany and used private communication channels to keep in touch with them. The arrest came after 6 people were charged with spying for Mossad last month. 4 Indonesian cabinet ministers testified on Friday that no rules were violated in the distribution of government aid during the 2024 presidential and vice presidential election PHPU campaign, despite claims by the 2 losing presidential candidates that it was used for the benefit of the election winner. The ministers denied that the government aid provided from January to June 2024 favoured Prabowo in the February presidential election, saying it was dispersed to achieve a target of reducing extreme poverty. The 4 ministers who were summoned by the Constitutional Court judges were Finance Minister Sri Mulyani Indrawati, Coordinating Minister for Human Development and Culture Muhajir Effendi, Coordinating Minister for Economic Affairs Airlangga Hartarto, and Social Affairs Minister Tri Risma Harini. The PHPU trial began on March 27th and the court is expected to deliver its verdict on April 22nd. At the beginning of the trial, the 2 losing candidate pairs, Anies Baswedan and Ganjar Pranowo, have alleged that the election process won by Prabowo Subianto and Gibran Raka Buming Raka was tainted by violations and fraud. The legal team of Prabowo and Gibran, however, rejected all claims considered as unfounded, saying that they were based on assumptions and lacked evidence. British police have opened an investigation into explicit messages sent to a lawmaker as part of an alleged sexting scam targeting MPs in the latest cybersecurity scare to hit Parliament. Earlier this week, online news outlet Politico reported that a number of sitting and former MPs had been contacted by an unknown number, detailing prior meetings with politicians in efforts to acquire personal or sensitive information. It was reported that these political figures had received the unsolicited messages from 2 numbers calling themselves Abby or Charlie. This came after Conservative MP William Ragg acknowledged late Thursday that he had sent personal phone numbers of several colleagues to someone that he met on a dating app. The scam has been described as a spear phishing attack, which sees supposedly trusted senders steal personal or sensitive information.
Remember when Lord Geit came of Parliament have faced pressures and intimidation.
Rescuers in Taiwan on Friday faced the threat of further landslides and rockfalls in their search for a dozen people still missing from this week's earthquake. According to the leader of a search and rescue team, Su Yu-ming, rescuers are facing a tough situation owing to difficult terrain and the threat of loose rocks displaced by the earthquake. He said that rain increases the risk of rockfalls and landslides, which are currently the biggest challenges, adding that they cannot confirm the number of days required for the search and rescue operations. Meanwhile, searchers on Friday discovered 2 more bodies on a hiking trail in Hualien County, bringing the total number of deaths from Wednesday's quake to 12. The victims were believed to have been hit by the boulders loosened by the tremor. Thompson into Houston quarterfinals after historic win. Sports right after this breather.
Baru pukul 2 petang, sempat lagi nak layan cerita pilihan setiap Sabtu sebelum berbuka. Restu Ramadan 23 Mac.
Alah, apalah yang nak dirisaukan? Kau ni macam-macam lah.
Ramadan terindah nurani 30 Mac.
Kahwin dengan kau untuk aku jadikan kau mantu rumah aku.
7 hari nak raya, 6 April.
Mas jangan, Mas. Mas.
Ramadan Raya macam dulu-dulu di TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Assalamualaikum. Saya anak awak.
Bila Kiara tiba-tiba muncul, terus berubah 360 darjah hidup Dr. Suhail.
Ni, anak buah.
Oh, anak alung kau.
Yes. Awak ni banyak cakap, awak tahu tak? Sama macam
siapa?
Saksikan minisiri Hello, Saya Anak Uncle. Setiap Ahad 9 malam di TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Hai, Syiha. Kau tak haus ke?
Pelan-pelan. Kan segabur nak, oi.
Dia berkata kena cergas.
Pandai tak ibu masak?
Pandai sangat. Paling pandai. Kalau nanti kita tumbuk ni, takut nanti belah dua. Bukan belah dua. Takut roboh.
oi, terkuat pula.
Tu, jangan kau buat time out.
Malangnya aku berbuka dengan kau.
Buka apa tu? Dah buka ke?
We're back with sports, football and the U23 international friendlies. Luck was not on the side of the Young Tigers squad as they lost 1-2 to China in a closed-door match on Thursday. China broke the deadlock in the 26th minute through reading Asakaya's penalty before Fergus Tierney scored the equaliser for the Harimau Muda in the 61st minute. However, a second penalty kick awarded to China saw Asakaya calmly score his second in the 85th minute, sealing a 2-1 victory for China. The national team preparing for the 2024 U23 AFC Asian Cup in Qatar from April 15th to May 3rd will play the final warm-up match against the home team there this Sunday. Malaysia have been drawn in Group D with Uzbekistan, Vietnam and Kuwait. On to tennis, the 2024 Houston Open. In-form Australian Jordan Thompson advanced to the quarterfinals after knocking out American Alexander Kovacevic in their round of 16 clash on Friday. Despite losing the first set 4-6, Thompson crawled his way back to claim a 7-6, 7-6 score in the next two sets in 3 hours and 34 minutes, the longest singles encounter in the tournament history. The Australian will face defending champion Francis Tiafoe for a place in the semi-finals. In another game, fourth seed Thomas Martin Etcheverry outclassed Daniel Elahi Galan 6-4, 6-4 in a match that lasted nearly 2 hours. Etcheverry will take on American Michael Mmoh next. Earlier, Mmoh surprised 8th seed Max Purcell of Australia with a comprehensive 6-2, 7-5 win to reach the last 8. The victory marks the American wildcard's best achievement in the tournament, as the best he could only do was reaching the second round in 2022. The 2024 Charleston Open, Romania's Jacqueline Christian stunned home favourite Emma Navarro in 3 sets to make her second WTA 500 quarter-final. The world number 83 playing the tournament for the first time defeated world number 20 Navarro 6-3, 5-7, 6-1 in 2 hours and 27 minutes. The Romanian will face Daria Kasatkina next in the last 8. In another match, top seed Jessica Pegula also reached the final 8 after beating Magda Linette 6-2, 6-2. The 5th-ranked American will take on Victoria Azarenka next for a place in the semis. Joining them was Maria Sakkari. The Greek advanced to her 3rd consecutive quarterfinals after beating Astra Sharma of Australia 6-4, 6-1 in just 90 minutes. The world number 7 will face Veronika Kudermetova next. Teen brothers killed in hit-and-run accident. Details when we return.
Come to Papa, Pastor!
Jangan lupa saksikan Buah Raya Bulan Sesame di Raya keempat 6.30 petang hanya di TV3 dan stream live di Kontrol. See ya!
Mesranya bila kita berdua. Lapuannya sayang.
Wow. I boleh buat sejenis masakan yang paling sedap.
Apa tu? Korang nak dengar tak bunyi yang paling
paling
best?
Mengiurkan di bulan puasa?
Merayakan sinar lebaran buat pesakit kanser.
Saya disahkan mengidap kanser endometrium, iaitu dinding rahim. Ia adalah perjalanan yang sukar sebab saya seorang ibu tunggal. Dan alhamdulillah saya dapat rawatan, buat pembedahan dan disambung dengan radioterapi dan brachytherapy.
Saya ni seorang yang curious. So soalan dekat hati terbuka. Islam ni sebenarnya apa? Setahun sebelum saya berkahwin dengan isteri, saya dah masuk Islam.
Nona di TV3 dan stream juga melalui Tonton.
Back on Nightline. The 3-year-old boy in Kelantan, who was the second casualty of a heat stroke in the country, had earlier received treatment at the hospital for 4 days before passing away last Monday. Kelantan Health Director Datuk Dr. Zaini Hussein said the child from Bachok was treated at Hospital University Science Malaysia. Dr. Zaini also advised parents to always monitor and limit outdoor activities, especially those involving young children, in light of the hot and dry weather. Earlier, the matter was confirmed by the National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA. The unfortunate incident, which occurred on April 1st in Kelantan, marks the second heat-related death in the country following the death of a 22-year-old individual in Pahang on February 2nd. Two brothers aged 17 and 13 were killed when their motorcycle was hit by a runaway four-wheel drive along Jalan Ipoh, Kuala Kangsar on Friday morning. The incident occurred while the victims were on their way to school at SMK Simpang Beluru in Kuala Kangsar. Sungai Siput District Police Chief Superintendent Muhammad Kaizam Ahmad Shahabuddin said the accident occurred when a pickup truck heading towards Ipoh made a sudden right turn before colliding with a motorcycle travelling in the opposite direction. The victims were identified as Ahmad Zuhal Norazlan and his younger brother Ahmad Marikh Norazlan. Both victims died at the scene and their bodies were sent to the Sungai Siput Hospital for post-mortem. The driver and owner of the four-wheel drive vehicle, who fled the scene after the incident, was later arrested near a farm in Salak Baru at about 1:20 p.m. Superintendent Muhammad Kaizam said the suspect, who works as a contractor, tested negative for drugs. Blood samples have been sent to the chemistry department for further investigation, while the suspect's vehicle was also seized. A remand application will be made on Saturday to allow further investigations to be carried out. Take a look as Plantation Industries and Commodities Minister Datuk Sri Johari Abdul Ghani distributed 500 hampers as well as Duit Raya to P-hailing drivers in conjunction with the Aidil Fitri celebrations. I'm Azaria Tagaya. Thank you for watching. To our Muslim viewers, selamat bersahur and have a great weekend.